Hello, and welcome to part two of the easiest way to find your shadow. If you didn't watch part one, please go back. We do the entire beginning part of this exercise in part one. But here, let's move on to where we just left off. So we just started with the things that we feel triggered by with Bob and Betty here, person one, person two, the good parts and the positive aspects, and what we can dissect. And now we're going to move on to person three. I think it's worth mentioning, and I should apologize for using the words good traits and bad traits because I don't necessarily believe that these are always good or bad, that we should divide people up into good and bad. It's more like which of these traits are useful, which of these traits are traits that you want to actually have in your character, and how do you want to develop? In which direction do you want to go? And what behaviors do you want to have the discipline to stop doing? It's important to remember that this exercise is not about the people that you're writing about. It's not about the lists that you're making of their positive and negative traits and dissecting. This is about you and how you want to develop your own character. And you're using the people who have been around you and how they affect you and how they've been a mirror to you to sort of see yourself better. You know how Shakespeare says that the world is a stage. I really subscribe to that idea because I see it everywhere. Every single person plays a part in that could be different in different people's lives, right? We all play different roles to different people at different times. Sometimes we're the villain in their story, and sometimes we are the love interest or the hero. It's important to not just split people up into good and bad. It's more about context and how people are affecting you, and that it's more about behaviors and how you are developing and what you want to take with you as a useful tool and what you don't want to take with you. So for person three, I'm just calling them cool person. You ever had a person, maybe they were a friend or somebody, I don't know, some kind of, everyone's got somebody like this where one day when they were young, they saw this person walk by and they had some kind of style that you fell in love with, or they had beautiful flowing hair and you were like, wow, or they did a thing and you're like, I want to be like that person. I'm sure that something has already come up to some of you. Or like maybe there's a public speaker that you're particularly drawn to, right? Somebody in your general vicinity, in your space, someone you follow where they are somewhat of an idol to you or somewhat of like a role model or someone you look up to or someone who you aspire to be. Sometimes we like people, but we don't realize we like them because they are doing a thing or they possess a trait that we have within ourselves that is just waiting to come out. And so think of that person. And bear in mind, I don't believe in having idols. I don't believe in celebrity worship. I don't believe on idealizing any person. I just think it can become unhealthy to idolize anyone and put anyone on a pedestal. It can be dangerous to have a fantasy, or I think it's always strange territory when you are in a world of fantasy about a person because inevitably that is not going to be accurate. It's not going to be an accurate depiction of who that person really is in their wholeness. It's just going to be an idealized form of that person. And so there are some shadow aspects to that as well. Anyway, so you have your pen and paper, you have taken your 3 deep breaths, you've grounded yourself, and now in your mind's eye, think of that person and write down the traits about that person that you liked. And what I find to be really fascinating about person number three, specifically, I remember that when I was young, I was not allowed to wear makeup and I was not allowed to dress the way that I didn't really get to experiment a lot with my wardrobe when I was young because I had more strict rules around that stuff in my household. And so I would start to admire the way that certain girls would do their curls, certain girls would do their makeup. and I would just be like, wow, I admire that attention to detail, and it's incredible. After hearing about this technique, I immediately shifted in my attitude and in my behavior, because the behavior change was, I can do that too. If I love attention to detail consistently and I always admire it in other people or in other people's work, then I also can do that as well and pay more attention to detail and start to play and have fun with that and start experimenting with makeup. Of course, use your own example here. So think of whatever it is about that person, that or that friend, that you like, that has this trait. Maybe they can draw, maybe they can sing, play music, they have some kind of thing that it's, you'll know if it's something where, why not just develop that aspect in yourself, especially if you see that you are developed, in the past you've developed envy, or you are in a place in your life where you are feeling less inspired, less creative, and you're feeling stuck. This may be the way out of feeling stuck, because you have not tried the things your soul truly desires to try. This doesn't mean you have to go out and become Mozart, but we are all human. We can all sing, dance, express. We are all born with these abilities to express in all the forms we can express. And so, why not go home and test out that makeup look that you always wanted to test out, and just see what happens and see how you feel? You feel me? And I'm not saying copy these people. I'm not saying idolize someone and copy them and be them. I'm really saying that you can figure out who you are through this practice. And it's not about being like this other person. Like I said, some shadow aspects can come out of that that can be really scary and bad. I'm saying figure out what it feels like for you in your body to try out something that you always wanted to develop and haven't. Take a singing lesson, whatever it is, go try the thing. It doesn't even have to be that serious. It might just be to just see how your body feels in a new position, how your mind feels with a new puzzle, if that makes sense. And the last part of this, which I find to be hilarious, you ever like have, so for a different example here, you might not be super stoked on this, but like let's say you had a crush on someone, or you have a pattern of types of people you date, or you have an ex that was super talented in this super, you ever, I don't know, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I have spoken to people to where sometimes they realize that they don't really know how they got along with a person. They're not exactly sure why they keep attracting a certain thing. Like maybe, I don't know, like my only example is, let's say you keep dating people who are serenading you with their guitar and it's just never working out. Like maybe it's time for you to take up guitar lessons. Like maybe it's time, dating a skater boy and it's not working out. Like maybe you just want to try skate. I guess what I'm trying to say is, maybe it's not really skater boys you like. Maybe you are interested in skateboarding, or maybe you keep having failed relationships with an artsy type of guy or a certain type of person, but it's not really them that you like. It's that you are meant to try out that field. Does that make sense? Let me know if any of this resonates. See you guys next time.